6:17 p.m. And could everyone please stand for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic
which stands one nation,
under God, indivisible.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Baker.
Here.
Mrs. Bream.
Here.
Mr. Francis. Mr. Francis.
Here.
Mr. Hoff.
Here.
Mr. Hoover.
Here.
Mrs. Irwin Adams.
Here.
Mr. Johnston.
Here.
Mr. Cruz.
Here.
Dr. Malloy.
Here.
Everyone present? I would like to make an announcement of 2 executive sessions. We had an executive session at 6 p.m. this evening for reasons of personnel, and we had an executive session on March the 26th.
Damn, I'm having trouble getting into broadcast the live Zoom whenever I try to enable live stream.
Can you mute, Doug? Thank you.
Are we ready?
Yes, sorry.
Wait, don't we have to wait if we're not live?
Oh, we're not live?
Hang on. Paula, are we live?
Hold on, we're working on it.
Let us know. Let us know when we're live, okay?
Do I have to start again?
No. No, we're good.
I'm
You
going to
just-
be starting with hearing from citizens. Has anyone asked to be heard?
Camilla?
No one has emailed or called in, but if you want to ask them to call 946-8205.
I got it. 946
8205.
Got it.
They can call in right now.
When we get to hearing from citizens,
Okay.
as we did last time.
We're going to live stream here, Paula?
We aren't, so we're recording. So at this point, just keep going. We have it recorded and we'll have to just put it out there tomorrow. I'll copy the recording and put it out onto YouTube.
Okay, so we're going to bypass hearing from citizens then?
Carl?
It's not the perfect scenario, but I'm not going to cancel this meeting to go a different direction. I mean, if we didn't get anybody, we didn't get anybody. Just turn around and post it tomorrow. We'll take our chances. No district attorney is going to, come after a district criminally for a sunshine violation.
Got it. Okay, Sharon, let's continue.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion for approval of minutes from the meeting of March 16th, March 26th, and April 6th Cal minutes. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Say your
second?
name, please.
This is Rick. So moved.
Kelly Adams, second.
Thank you. Any comments or concerns? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Next on the agenda here is construction change orders. Can I have a motion?
Rick Hoover, motion.
A second?
Mike Baker, second.
Okay, any concerns, comments, any discussion on it?
Is there someone to answer the questions?
Gary?
I'm online.
Okay, I was just wondering what 254 and 255 were.
Let me flip down here. Four was a discrepancy between the hardware schedule and the electrical schedule. It had to do with several card readers and intrusion access. And then 255 was the water cooler that we talked about during the facilities meeting.
All right, thanks.
All in favor, say aye.
Mrs. Bream, could we
Yeah.
get a roll call because many are muted and I can't tell who's voting which way?
Oh, okay. Would you like a roll call on all of them then?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Okay, not a problem. Could we have a roll call vote on this?
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Bream,
Yes.
Mr. Francis,
Yes.
Mr. Hoff,
Yes.
Mr. Hoover,
Yes.
Mrs. Irwin Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Cruz,
Yes.
Dr. Malloy,
Yes.
unanimous.
Thank you. We're moving on to consent agenda items. I have 2, 4, 6, 8 that I'm going to take as a motion. The first one is list of payments. The second one is financial reports. The third is Adelphi Education Services. The fourth and fifth are Rachel's Challenge. The next is capital reserve list of payments, business track extension, and school real estate services. Can I have a motion
Rick Hoover, so moved.
and a second? I'll
Ron
second.
Johnston.
Okay. Ron Johnson, second that. Okay, any questions, comments, concerns?
I have a question on payments, list of payments. Mansion Park, the lights at Mansion from January 23rd to February 23rd, $1,552.10.
Is that electric or is that lights?
That's electric.
What check
That's
number is
Mansion field lights. January 23rd to February 23rd.
Do you have a check number with that, Ron?
It's 114550.
Thank you.
Just seems kind of high this time of year.
Doug, is there any reason why we would have a high electric bill down at Mansion for lights?
Is that the period of performance or is that just the billing? Because does that go back into December for playoff games and such?
We'll look at that and get back to you tomorrow.
Okay, we'll get you that answer.
Thank you. Okay.
Hey, Camilla,
Yes, sir.
could you check 4 checks and then you could get back to me tomorrow also?
Sure.
114555 for $1,500 basically to a dentist, I think. 114558. My question on that, and I think it's been brought up before, we pay $8,300 a month for wireless telephone, I guess, for all our cell phones. That just seems like a lot of money to me. 114630 says 7th grade libraries, and 114633. That's two, it looks like 2 bookcases. I'm just wondering if that's for the new school, why it's not coming out of new school money.
No, what that is that's the finishing of the purchase of the reading program
In the 7th grade.
in the 7th grade. And the And the cellular bill is so high, not just because of cell phones. It's also we have all of our ACA computers are running off that same cell bill.
Is that because of schools being shut down that you're running them off of there, or is that always like?
No. ACA uses a SIM card and a cellular that for each machine per month.
Okay. Are you through, Ed? I had a few questions if you're through.
Yeah, yes, I'm done.
Okay. Check number 114529. AHS music parents elect gift cards for Sheetz and Walmart. 1,050. What is
that specifically is for that's going through the Music Booster account, through the student activities accounts. And we're buying, Camilla, help me here. I don't have it off the top of my head.
It's incentives for the dropout prevention program for the pregnant and parenting team girls and males for attendance, grades, workshop attendance, and the whole incentive program is submitted to the state and approved by the state. They have very specific guidelines, and it was approved by the state to incentivize the kids to stay in school, attend the workshops, so they don't drop out.
But that's part of the ELECT grant, is it not?
Correct. It's all the grant funded.
Wow. Different than when I went to school, I'll tell you. I have another couple here. Oh, check number 114560. There's two of them. Vital records, copies of birth certificates. Why are we paying for someone's birth certificate? Wouldn't the
I will double check that, but I believe that's also for ELECT, for students to be able, if they are applying to get into college, they may need a copy of their birth certificate, and they may not have a copy of it, but I'll double check that.
Well, why would we be paying for it?
The grant is. It's allowable under the grant to help the kids get into post-secondary. I'll confirm that.
And 114633, Hertz Brothers bookcases. Is that for the new building, the new school?
No.
That's the same thing that Ed had just asked about. Those were 7th grade. They were for the junior high for those libraries.
Okay.
And I'll get more detail on that.
And check number 114637, Markle Supply Company, the walk-through metal detectors. We own those, correct? That's not a rental.
We own those, yes. We purchased those.
Check number 114736, elect students driver's permit. Why are we paying for that?
It's the same premise. They need to be able to drive to be able to get to work or to be able to go to school. It's part of the grant. It's approved under the grant, and it's coming from grant funds.
Wow.
I don't think that's our fault. I think that's the Fed's fault.
Well,
Right.
I think it, but they're incentive.
That's part of the deal. You know, all that stuff you're asking about is part of that grant.
To keep the kids in school so they can graduate, and the whole idea is so they don't go on welfare after they graduate. It's supposedly to break the cycle.
Actually, it's a pretty good program.
Have we ever done a survey to see how this program is working? If all of these incentives are keeping these students in school, are they going on to higher education?
One of the reasons why it continues to be funded is because they do gather a lot of data, and we have had numerous testimonies of students who have gone on, some of them nurses at Altoona Regional, that we have letters, we have testimonials, we can provide that if the board's interested.
But we are getting that information.
Correct. We have to
Yes.
report it to the state. That's why it continues to be funded, because there are very strict requirements for them to participate, and we have good outcomes.
Yeah, I agree with Sharon, Camilla. Could we check and see how that program's doing?
Sure.
Camilla?
I'd like to chime in because my wife worked for that program for, I don't know, Camilla, probably 13 years or so, and had great success. And I got to see firsthand the things they did. And it is a good program with people who really care about those students and keeping them in. And they do collect a lot of data.
Good.
And understand the ELECT program is 100% funded through the ELECT grant, correct, Camilla?
Correct.
Okay, any other questions on any of the other items? If not, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Mrs. Brame,
Yes.
Mr. Francis,
Yes.
Mr. Hoff,
Yes.
Mr. Hoover,
Yes.
Mrs. Irwin Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Cruz,
Yes.
Dr. Malloy,
Yes.
Mr. Baker.
Yes.
Okay, moving on, business operations. Can I have a motion? It's for STA and Amtran bus driver approvals.
Rick Hoover, so moved.
A second?
I'll second. Francis will second.
Okay, thank you, Dave. And I guess we need a roll call vote on this.
Yes, please.
Mr. Francis,
Yes.
Mr. Hoff,
Yes.
Mr. Hoover,
Yes.
Mrs. Irwin Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Cruz,
Yes.
Dr. Malloy,
Yes.
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Brame.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, policy. Final review on our policies. Could I have a motion?
Rick Hoover, so moved.
Thank you, and a second? I'll second that. Any discussion, comments, questions? This vaping policy, that's being added to the regular tobacco policy. So we're just basically,
We're updating it. We're updating the language so that it matches the contemporary situations.
okay. And that, there's no vaping on school grounds, correct?
Absolutely not.
Including.
Not if we can prevent it. I
Okay.
can't say that some child doesn't do it, but
Right. And adults also.
exactly, yes.
Okay. Any other discussion on any of those items? Could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Hoff,
Yes.
Mr. Hoover,
Yes.
Mrs. Irwin Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Cruz,
Yes.
Dr. Malloy,
Yes.
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Brame,
Yes.
Mr. Francis, Mr. Francis.
Dave,
Yes.
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, moving on to student services, UPMC Western Psychiatric Hospital with exhibits. Could I have a motion and a second?
Rick Hoover, motion.
I'll second it. Any questions, concerns, comments? Could we have a roll call vote on this, please?
Mr. Hoover, Mr. Hoover,
Yes.
Mrs. Irwin Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Cruz,
Yes.
Dr. Malloy,
Yes.
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Brame,
Yes.
Mr. Francis,
Yes.
and Mr. Hoff.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next, I'm going to take the 5 education items as one motion. It's 8 hours, volunteers, modification to student evaluation system for the 4th MP marking period of 2020 due to COVID-19, AAHS New Club, Lex Calendar. Can I have a motion?
Rick Hoover, so moved.
Mike Baker, I'll second.
Thank you.
Good job, Mike.
Any discussion, concerns, questions?
I'd like Brad to go over the final grading.
I have a couple questions.
Do you want me to go ahead and go, or do you want to start with questions?
Well, go ahead first. and
Okay,
then
as outlined and we had discussed prior, what we have looked at is a proposal, kind of two pieces. Number one, we will be waiving 2 graduation requirements for seniors for this school year only, one of which being the senior project completion and the other being a demonstration of proficiency on the Keystone exam and/or local equivalency. In addition to that, we are requesting K-12 a pass-fail grading system for the 4th marking period, where students will continue to be evaluated utilizing our enrichment and review in addition to our plan instruction, where they will be assigned course point values for assignments and activities. Students that achieve a passing grade of 59.5 or higher will receive a pass, and students who receive a 59.4 or lower will receive a fail for the 4th marking period. And we also describe what that will look like in terms of grade calculation for student GPA. This is an equitable way that gives every student the greatest opportunity to pass without any type of penalty for any kind of circumstance or situation that would prevent them from having the same opportunity to be successful had we been in a normal educational setting.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Questions?
Question, I think on 512. Didn't that teacher used to work for us before and she left?
Yeah, she has always worked for us. That scenario, and I described this at finance last week. We had a substitute teacher that was in for biology for a teacher that's out on medical. That substitute teacher is no longer with us. So 4 of the 5 classes that teacher was responsible for, our other biology teachers have willingly taken on as part of their other courses. She also taught 1 elective, human systems and disease, which we could not just assign to another teacher. So in lieu of hiring a substitute to teach that 1 class for the remainder of the year, this teacher is willing to take on the additional responsibility of teaching that course virtually at the ACA rate, which is the $25 per hour rate for up to 35 hours monthly. That would be the planning, delivery, evaluation, everything for that entire course. Otherwise, those kids would not have been able to complete that course and earn that credit. It's a 9th grade course for this school year. So we did not have to hire a sub or another teacher. We had another teacher that was willing to do that on an hourly basis for that 1 course. And that big thank you out to our other biology teachers who were willing to absorb the rest of that schedule into their already full load.
My other question is, or maybe it's a statement, I don't know, on item 515. I do not care for the name of that club. It's supposed to accept all members, it says. It should be more of a diversity club, more of a neutral name, I'd like to say. I just am not a fan of the name of that club. In fact, when I talked to someone before about it, that name was not even brought up before.
Mm-hmm. I do understand the students that are requesting the consideration for that club have met all the requirements. They've submitted a constitution along with a faculty sponsor, and that is the name that they are proposing to operate the club under.
I'm out of the loop here. What is the name?
The name of the club is, let me just verify, but I believe it's the Black Student Union.
Yes.
Yes, its exact title is Black Student Union. And as I said, they've met all the requirements for club consideration by identifying membership, and it is not exclusive to any race of student. That is the title of the club that they proposed.
So a question I have is, we don't have much money anyhow, and all these clubs cost money to have. We have to have a supervisor or a teacher oversees it.
This is a volunteer. The majority of our clubs are supervised by a teacher volunteer. They're not a paid, it's not a paid stipend. Some of our clubs and activities and organizations do. This, along with a lot of other clubs, do not have a paid faculty advisor.
I thought we were told we spend like, I'm sure I'm off on this, $200,000 on stipends for club advisors or something.
That's accurate, but we do have a number of clubs that are non-paid faculty sponsors, non-paid advisors. They do it voluntarily. They're approached by students.
Not much money spent on, I don't understand that. Why is it all not volunteer? Why are we spending $200,000 in?
You have to understand your drama, your band, your majorettes, your NHS, your National Honor Society, your student council, all those groups have stipended positions. Your minor clubs, your small social clubs such as chess club or diversity club or this club.
Fellowship of Christian Athletes, right? I mean, we have a number of clubs that are, as Dr. Priatel had explained, they are, I want to say social organizations, but a lot of them have a mission. They have things that they enjoy, similar interests, like interest clubs of kids that have similar interests. There's an anime club, for example, with the junior high school. It's for kids that enjoy, anime and that type of art form. So there's a faculty sponsor that also shares that interest, and they meet monthly, and they do activities and do different things, but they are not funded. They don't have a budget. They can request fundraising for their clubs or organizations, but they are not faculty sponsors that are paid.
Didn't Mr. Rosenberry come to one of the meetings? I think it was the January meeting, asking for stipends for all these teachers.
Yep.
Because it wasn't fair that the high school clubs were getting a stipend and the elementary clubs were not getting stipends.
He specifically asked about a couple of clubs and organizations that grew out of the STEM initiative at Penn Lincoln that were geared towards some after school activities and events. Some of which are drama based. We do have performing arts groups at some of our elementaries, but not all of them. Mr. Rosenberry did ask for consideration for very involved clubs and activities, like if you're going to put on a drama production, that we would look at and consider stipends for those folks.
I'm fine with the club. I just, we just can't let it get out of hand, I guess. With, we have the black club, then if we have the Oriental club and so on, and then everybody's saying they're doing it for free this year, but 2-3 years from now, everybody's going to want paid. I agree with that. If it was just maybe encompassed all the minorities, or maybe not. Maybe if it's more like black studies, then maybe it does need to be black, whatever.
And if you look at the Constitution, it is not like there is not a race requirement in order to be a part of it. That is the title they were requesting to have, for the name of the group. We have a Fellowship of Christian Athletes. You don't have to be Christian to be in the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. So, I mean, it's not excluding anyone based on religious preference, ethnicity, gender, whatever it may be. It's the name of the club that they had requested.
No,
I understand
that, but
I'm sorry, Mr. Cruz.
I said I understand that. As I look at the name of the club, I don't think that I would, think, oh, I could join that. I would feel that I couldn't just join that club.
We had a conversation about the diversity club at one time, and it's one of those things where, and stop me if I'm wrong, Carl, as long as they meet our criteria, and it's not where it's costing us, it's not a paid position, you know, we need to respect the fact that we can have that club. It might not be any of our cup of tea, but at the same time, it's our obligation as a public school to be able to provide these opportunities for children as deemed appropriate. Am I right, Carl?
That is correct.
So.
Any other comments or questions? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Mrs. Irwin Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Cruz. I'm sorry,
No.
Dr. Malloy,
Yes.
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Bream,
Yes.
Mr. Francis,
Yes.
Mr. Hoff,
Yes.
Mr. Hoover.
Yes.
8-1.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, federal programs. There are 3 items for federal programs. Federal and state grants, Storybook STEM grant, and Continuity of Education Equity grant. Can I have a motion?
Rick Hoover, so moved.
A second? I'll second it.
Second.
Thank you, Dave.
Anytime. I couldn't get that unmuted.
Okay, let Dave second it. That's fine.
520.
Could Dr. Priatel maybe a little bit about the Continuity of Education Equity grant?
Continuity of Education is a grant that's specifically aimed at dealing with COVID-19 and making sure we can get kids connected via online means. We have, through the development of the grant, we have pursued extending Chromebooks into the 5th grade. Right now we have Chromebooks, we're passing out Chromebooks tomorrow to 6th grade, but we're looking at extending them into 5th grade with the monies that are available, and also the purchasing of hotspots and covering of other bills regarding COVID-19, everything from face shields and protective gear and all the different kinds of cleansers, cleaners, disinfectants, that kind of stuff. That's all part of that grant.
And that grant's going to pretty much cover all of our extra expenses for this online school and these extra computers, correct?
Yes. What we did is we put together things in the grant. Well, obviously disinfectants and those kinds of things, that's a one-time expense. But we also looked at the grant. If we were gonna put in for money for this grant, we were gonna make sure it was something we would be able to use when the grant was over. And that's where the Chromebooks in 5th grade makes a big piece of sense, because first of all, it gets machines out into a lot of households. We can guarantee kids can get online and have access to the elementary curriculum. And in turn, it's a program we can continue, and it works off of our professional development schedule and continues to develop our computer and technology savvy of all our instructors and students.
That's great. Any other questions, comments? If not, can we have a roll call?
I do. I have a question. The hotspots, are they set up for community, or are they going to individual students that don't have them?
Those are houses. It's
Okay.
a hotspot. It would be a hotspot for someone who doesn't have any internet access at all.
Okay, I was just curious.
It's directly tied to the device. So it's not like we're just giving them internet.
I guess we can move on with the roll call vote now.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Cruz,
Yes.
Dr. Malloy,
Yes.
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Bream,
Yes.
Mr. Francis,
Yes.
Mr. Hoff,
Yes.
Mr. Hoover,
Yes.
Mrs. Irwin Adams.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on to facilities. And did someone say something?
Oh.
Facilities and athletic rentals. Can I have a motion and a second?
Rick Hoover, motion.
Frank.
I'll second Kelly Adams.
All right, Kelly.
Okay, any comments discussion?
If I may understand that these facilities will not be used until the governor lifts his restrictions on anyone having public gatherings.
Okay.
This is, go ahead, Ed.
I just had a quick question. I didn't see on there, who's going to pay for the security or medical overlooking this event?
That this all comes from the it's a rental agreement for the Logan softball fields, and it's for a tournament, and that would be the people running a tournament.
Okay, so we won't provide any of that.
No, they'll pay all bills, and they'll provide insurance. Same thing with the Independent Youth Baseball League.
Any other questions?
Yeah, this is Ron. I was up at the Pleasant Valley baseball field last week. The grass is cut. That looks good. Last year we had an episode where someone got a four-wheeler and ripped up the grass, and someone planted grass seed. You cannot plant grass seed in hard mud. I like to have Doug or Phil go up there and take a look at that field. It's in pretty bad shape. I'll bring that up at the athletic meeting here on in a couple of nights. Thank you.
Doug?
Yes.
Let's discuss this and put it on the to-do list tomorrow.
Okay, we'll do.
Got it. No problem. Thanks for bringing it up, Ron.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Can we have a roll call vote now?
Mr. Cruz,
Yes.
Dr. Malloy,
Yes.
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Bream,
Yes.
Mr. Francis, Mr. Hoff,
Dave?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Hoover,
Yes.
Mrs. Irwin Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Okay, moving on to new business. I'm going to take the first 4 items in finance as one motion. Altoona Area Junior High School additional band uniforms, Vision Benefits of America, and Delta Dental Renewable, and flexible spending account, health savings account, and Cobra administration. Can I have a motion?
Rick Hoover, so moved.
Ron, second.
Okay, Ron, second. And any discussion, questions? Dr. Priatel, could you maybe go over the flexible spending account and what's going on there?
Right. We had approximately about a month ago, the board approved the reference-based healthcare. And at that time, the UPMC group was not willing to continue the HSA, the FSA, or the Cobra products. Since then, they've had a change of heart, and they quite frankly made us an offer that was going to save the district significant dollars in order to buy those services through them, and also provide all of our employees with continuity, with not having to change their HSA or their FSA or the Cobra. So it gives us continuity, and it gives us a savings. So that's the reason the administration was recommending we keep those products with UPMC.
Okay, very good. Any other questions, comments? If not, can we have a roll call vote on this?
Dr. Malloy,
Yes.
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Bream,
Yes.
Mr. Francis, Mr. Hoff,
Yes.
Mr. Hoover,
Yes.
Mrs. Irwin Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Cruz.
Yes.
Okay, we're moving on now. It's still finance. We want to discuss Empower 3. Can I have a motion second?
Rick Hoover, so moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any concerns, discussion, questions?
Camilla, can
Yes,
you
sir.
walk through this, please?
When we first brought this up in finance, we were looking strictly at what we were paying in memberships every month. In the meantime, Empower provided us with a list of number of visits compared to what we were paying, and it showed some savings. But for this year coming up, they are expanding it to include mammograms, which would not be charged. My paper, mammograms. There are a couple of other outpatient procedures that would be covered under Empower. They're also expanding the provider network. They've negotiated rates. So anyone, right now we're seeing outside bills when they go to Altoona OB/GYN or to dermatologists. Well, they've brought in some local cardiologists, university orthopedics, Altoona OB/GYN, Keystone Dermatology. There are probably 18 different providers that they're bringing in that they would pull into Empower. And in this agreement, they are making some significant, they are agreeing to reach out to our employees, make sure that they follow through with this. And if not, then they will be billed for it. If they go outside of Empower for their family physician, they'll have to pay for it. So they are making a lot of concessions on the things that we didn't like, and the reasons why we were recommending that we drop them, because they weren't doing these things. And now they're saying they will, plus they've expanded it. We do have approximately 200 employees who are members, and who at least 180 of them are using the Empower services. So again, it seems like they are going to try. I thought we could go another year and monitor it and see if we are actually going to save more money, as they say that we will. And again, it would also be a continuity of service for our employees who are already there.
So here's my question. You said there's 200 members, plus they're also on our insurance, correct? They're on both. So they have two insurances basically. Now you're saying they're going to be forced to use that. Let's say I'm on there and I go outside the network, and you're going to try to bill me. What if I don't pay it? I know that the school's going to pick it up anyhow. Who's going to really enforce that they get paid? Because I don't believe that'll happen.
We're setting it up with Trustmark, the new third-party administrator, where Empower has to notify the employee when they first start. If they agree to continue with Empower, they have to agree, and they're going to sign that they will agree to those terms. And then Trustmark is setting up that safety net that if someone goes outside, they're not going to run it through our process, through our medical claims.
Previously, if I may, there was nothing to stop UPMC from billing us for those visits and making it part of our insurance. Now, by having a third-party administrator in Trustmark, they don't gain a benefit by running more claims through. So for them to police this is simply them doing their job. Likewise, with Empower, we're going to have the employees sign a release. If they want Empower, they'll have access to Empower. But any of the services that Empower provides, they will need to go to Empower for those services. They will not be able to go and elect, oh, I'm going to go to Mainline Medical for this because I like Brett or I like Mitch Joseph. They're going to have to use Zane and his group because they've signed up to go through Empower. So that way we should maximize the savings from Empower, because we will be funneling people away from, the higher cost services.
I know
which
that
was the purpose of it to begin with.
When it comes to you and has a bill, are we going to cave in and pay it, or are you going to make the employee pay it because they didn't listen to what they signed up for?
We make the employee pay it.
Well, how
I don't have a track record of caving, Ed.
How
If I
can you
do,
do
that's what you mean.
so? Let's say the employee starts out going to Empower and they have cancer, they have a heart problem, and they don't feel that they're getting the proper care there and they need to go see a specialist. How do you prevent them from doing that? I would say that if this thing went to court, you're out of luck.
Well,
I see how you can people to do it. Plus this program, from what we were told to get rid of this program by the administration. It said we lost $175,000 on this program. Then I'm assuming Pat Rowley is who you're dealing with.
No, actually with Zane.
But he is an owner in that organization, correct?
Correct.
He owns that corporation. He handles our health care and he owns that corporation. And now this $175,000 just miraculously is going away. And now we're going to save money. Do you realize how much you have to save to just absorb the 175 and then make progress from there? I don't see this happening. And this forcing your people to do this or that when they have health insurance that they're paying for, I don't see how that's legal. I mean, maybe Carl can chime in here, but I just don't see how that's legal.
Are you asking? Quite honestly, it's either a benefit that works for the benefit of employees or it doesn't. I don't know, what the legal ramifications are if somebody starts out that way and has a significant life event like cancer or some major surgery. I would assume that there would be a fail-safe mechanism in place to allow somebody to transition over so that they don't have a hardship. There has to be that in place.
There is, but the point with Empower is if you sign up for Empower, the services they provide you need to use from them and not create an additional cost by going outside of that network.
And the way I read the agreement reminded me of the old HMO plan that you just have to go through Empower. They'll make the referrals or they'll say, yes, you need to go. Yes, you do need to go to Pittsburgh for the treatments. You do need to go see the oncologist, but they want it run through Empower. So if there's anything else, let's say there's some type of drug that they need to have that's on Empower's list that's included in that agreement, they can provide it there from Empower. They're just going to be the filter. They'll run it through.
But now the employee is paying a premium for Empower 3 and paying a premium for our health insurance, correct?
No, ma'am.
No.
They're not paying anything for Empower. They only pay the spousal contribution across the board if someone has their spouse on it, and it's 5208 and 5206, depending on which group you're in.
So we're subsidizing that payment. We're paying that payment for them to Empower 3.
Correct.
The reasoning behind the Empower 3 is that if they're using Empower 3, we're getting it at a much more discounted rate than if they're going straight to UPMC or to other major medical providers.
And if they need radiology, they're referred to 611, and that's part of it. We pay nothing for that, and it doesn't run through their deductible. There's some physical therapy I believe it's at Dreyer, and so Empower had referred some people to physical therapy that was part of their membership that we were paying monthly, but we weren't satisfied with the number of, well, they weren't reaching out to our employees. There were employees who didn't know what the program required, and they are addressing all of those in this written agreement that we can hold them to, and they have to provide monthly reports.
Well, I think Pat Rowley has a huge conflict of interest. I think he's trying to hold on to the $175,000 that you are subsidizing Empower 3 with, and Empower 3 is not Affordable Care Act approved.
Correct.
So it's a substandard do I want to say policy, insurance policy? And I just think it's wrong that the district keeps subsidizing Pat Rowley, and then Pat Rowley's making money on both ends. He's making money from us, and he's making money from Empower 3. I think it's wrong. That conflict of interest really bugs me, but I'll let other people speak and tell me how they feel.
We paying additional for the third-party administrator?
We have a third-party administrator fee for, it's for everyone who's insured.
So it's not additional to monitor the Empower 3?
No.
No.
And when we heard the model, I'm sorry? We knew that Zane and Pat were owners, and we went into it eyes wide open. But if it saves us money, then it's to our benefit. And that's why I made the recommendation originally, because it didn't appear that we were saving money, and they weren't following what the model was that they described the first year. It's just the service was just getting less and less. So it's sort of like what happened last year with UPMC. UPMC didn't want to give us a good rate. When they heard we were going to leave, then we got a good rate. Well, it's sort of the same thing with this. We put it on the table that we were going to drop them, and then there are all these agreements. They're agreeing to do the things that we thought were happening and that were supposed to be happening, and then they've actually sweetened the pot with adding that whole group of additional services that will be covered by Empower at no extra cost. And it just makes sense to monitor it for a year and see if we actually do save more money.
Well, how does it make sense to monitor it for a year? You've already lost $175,000 because they did not hold up their end of the bargain and do what they're supposed to do, if I'm understanding correctly, right?
Correct.
Now they're saying, oh, no. We know you lost $175,000 and we pocketed that money, but now we're going to tell you more stories that are going to make you save money. So what if we're sitting here next year and it's $350,000 that we're losing? I mean, that's a very, I think, possibility, because they didn't hold up to their bargain before. They are not really a company. We're already providing insurance. Why are we out there subsidizing Empower 3 for $175,000?
The reality is they have provided a large number of services, which if it had gone through the UPMC structure would have been more expensive. The thing is to truly leverage it totally to ensure that we maximize that savings. And
but
we
you
have put,
and you lost 75.
And are there any, have we ever received any kind of a report or a projection that would show what the impact of not having Empower 3 versus having it? You know, I don't, without seeing any numbers and just throwing out this, it cost us $175 last year. I mean, I don't know that I have enough information to make an informed decision without seeing a projection.
Well, that number of 175 came from our administration.
I understand that part. I'm not, I agree with that. But what I'm asking of Camilla, like, is there a way to run the numbers based on the services that Empower 3 provided last year, based on the parameters they're giving us this year, to see if they're just blowing smoke?
They did provide a report, and I've been pushing back, trying to get more information on it, and just the expansion of what they're saying. And I can provide you with that report. We can hold on this if you want to wait until.
I personally don't feel comfortable voting either way without seeing more hard numbers.
Okay.
I think what we'll do is we'll put it on the file.
Is there any contract language, either teachers, Act 93, ASME, that have there that we provide this as part of the healthcare package?
No.
So
No, this was an add-on by us to save money, to find a better way to deliver services to our employees and hopefully have a cost savings to us. Understand with the 175 that's our gross expense to Empower 3. We do have savings through Empower 3. There is a cost shifting. What we'll do And if it's all right with the board, we will table this till May, but we will bring this to finance. We'll bring as thorough a report as we possibly can create, and then the board will have all the information to make a fully educated decision.
So you're telling me we didn't lose 175,000 because
What
that
I'm
is
saying is the cost. The
But
cost was 175,000 and as a potential savings of 175,000. But the reality is we did receive services from Empower. People did use Empower. My argument to Empower was, if only the healthy people sign up for Empower, I'm not saving any money because they wouldn't have cost me anything insurance-wise anyways. So that's where they produced for us these documents and reports to show that there was a strong level of usage with Empower. We can go over that and we can review that and bring that to the Finance Committee to take a good hard look at in May, and then the board can make a decision on this come the May board meeting.
Is that like the situation if you go to Kohl's or one of the grocery stores, they give you a thing and said, you saved X amount of dollars with this purchase, like over the course of a year or something like that? Is that what they have?
That's what they provided us compared to what they would have paid if those services had been provided. Their column says in industry. So.
All right.
So if it pleases the board, I request the board vote that we pull it, and we will present it at the Finance Committee, and then the board can make a decision in May.
Well, Mr. Hoover made the motion. Does he need to make the motion to table it? And Mr. Francis seconded.
Rick?
So I need to? All right, Rick Hoover, I rescind. We will table it until May.
okay. Do we need a vote on that?
Rick, was that a motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll second.
Do we need a vote on this, Camilla? Or
Yes, please.
Yes.
To take
Vote to table.
So this vote is to table Empower. Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Bream,
yes.
Mr. Francis,
Yes.
Mr. Hoff,
Yes.
Mr. Hoover,
Yes.
Mrs. Irwin Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Cruz,
Yes.
Dr. Malloy.
Yes.
Okay, moving on. Under maintenance, we have two items: Ebner Elementary roof and Altoona Public Library parking lots. Can I have a motion and a second?
Rick Hoover, so moved.
Second.
Thank you. Comments, discussion, questions?
If I may, we were expecting a price on the Ebner roof to be in the $400,000 range. The bid from American Roofing was approximately in the low 130s, 131. We strongly recommend we go with American Roofing. The Altoona Public Library was another situation where the Facilities Committee took a good hard look at this last week. We wanted to bring it to the board with the option. My recommendation would be to do the complete job and to do the 162,000 with the number one alternate, which is a complete rebuild of the lower lot and a complete rebuild of the top lot. There are options if the board so chooses, but our recommendation is to do the complete rebuild of those two lots.
Okay, could we have a roll vote on that?
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Bream,
Yes.
Mr. Francis,
Yes.
Mr. Hoff,
Yes.
Mr. Hoover,
Yes.
Mrs. Irwin Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Cruz,
Yes.
Dr. Malloy.
Yes.
Okay, moving on, another item under finance, which is our solicitor contract for 2020 to 2021. May I have a motion?
Rick Hoover, so moved.
A second?
Second.
Ron Johnson, second.
Okay.
Go ahead,
thank you.
Dave.
Comments, questions? Can we have a roll call vote on that, please?
Mrs. Breen,
Yes.
Mr. Francis,
Yes.
Mr. Hoff,
Yes.
Mr. Hoover,
Yes.
Mrs. Irwin Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Cruz,
Yeah.
Dr. Malloy, Mr. Baker.
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes.
Thank
Last
you.
item. You're welcome. Personnel items, number 709. Can I have a motion?
Rick Hoover, so moved.
May I first also ask for the addendum of 3 additional retirements? I sent this out to the board today because this could be added to the personnel agenda.
Yep.
For Jeffy Singo, Kitty Resco, and Christine Johnston. They all meet the criteria for the retirement incentive. That puts our current number at 13 retirees, and we still have a few more that will be hopefully bringing in their retirement letters here within the next week and a half.
Okay, very good.
Do I need to move that again?
Yes, please, Rick.
All right. Rick Hoover, so moved.
Do we have a second?
Frank Malloy, second.
Okay, any questions, comments?
I have a question. I know what the answer is, but we have to pay all these people through the summer because of the COVID.
751.
Right. So even like 10 tennis court attendants, I mean, that's all paid. We have to pay that.
That's contingent on the courts being open.
Okay, so I do have another quick question, and it might relate to this because it's personnel. So if we're paying all personnel, if we have students working for different parts of the district, will they be being paid at this time also?
Those are part-time temp employees. I'm not sure. Camilla?
I don't believe we are paying the students, but I'll double
No, you're
check.
not paying them. I was wondering if we are supposed to be paying them. Because I thought everybody that was being paid at the time of this started should be paid.
Part of the language was as practicable. Am I right, Carl?
I have to look into that. That's the first one. Congratulations, Ed. That's the first question I've gotten about paying students. I will look into that. That's not been addressed by PSBA, PASA, PASBO, our office, or even PSBA General Counsel. It's a good question. I would probably say I doubt it, but I'm willing to look into it to see if they do in fact get paid.
Thanks. Earn your money.
I'm working on it.
Any other comments?
Yes, Ron, on F, summer hours, band director for junior high, was this position advertised?
She's going to be the band director next year.
Yes, was this advertised, or is it just, it's yours?
It's an assignment.
Okay,
Her teaching assignment is band director.
okay. And how about the,
Pardon me, Ron.
yes,
I'm going to pull that for a month because you might have a point that we may need to advertise that. So I'm going to pull that one for a month if that would please the board. That would be the junior high band director and anything regarding junior high band for right now.
okay, thank you. And then right below that, for the high school drama club down at junior high, is that individual going to get paid $1,000 for the music director?
They had their musical. Their musical
Okay.
occurred.
And then the right below that, in 2, why do we need so many drama assistants?
Those are all different duties and responsibilities, but aren't those running through the club?
These are all through the club.
Those are all through the club, and
Any honorariums.
any honorariums are run through the club. It's not, that's not a district position per se. It's a district volunteer, but their honorariums coming through the club.
Okay, and then one more on page 10, junior high spring musical, $500 for technical director. Would he get paid for that?
Honorarium.
It's an honorarium. It's coming through the club.
Okay, gotcha. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
I do have a question. Number 3 under F. For
Under
home,
F.
oh, wait a minute. No, homecoming already passed. I'm sorry. Withdraw that question.
All right, good.
Okay, could we have a roll call vote on that, please?
And are we pulling?
Yeah, let me ask that question since I moved it. Do we have to pull that one position in my motion?
Yes, the band director positions we're going to pull those for right now.
Okay. Rick Hoover, I'm going to move it and pull the band director for now.
This is Ron. I second it.
Dr. Malloy had seconded it. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
that's okay. Okay.
And I'll agree to that. I'll second that.
Thank you.
Okay, we can have a roll call vote now.
Mr. Francis,
Yes.
Mr. Hoff,
Yes.
Mr. Hoover,
Yes.
Mrs. Irwin Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Cruz,
Yes.
Dr. Malloy,
Yes.
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Bream.
Yes. Okay, moving on, committee reports. Does anyone have any committee reports that they would like to give? I know we have minutes for our meetings, but does anyone have any?
Could I just put something in there? I guess this would be community outreach. I've been talking to a lot of parents, a lot of students. They're very, very concerned about the upcoming. Obviously, people are worried about the prom. Now that the school year's done, people are also worried about graduation. I just wanted to put that out there, and let's all start brainstorming what we're going to do, guys.
Okay, anything else?
If I may,
Yes.
to Rick, we are working on that. There are no simple solutions, but we are working on it. And we will report to the board soon. Sorry, Ed, go ahead.
I just have a question before the meeting ends. I don't know if this is the right position for it, though.
Go ahead.
With all this virus going around and they're getting the school ready for workers to come back and different wash stations or whatever they're having, how much of that's going to cost us money? I mean, I think each contractor should have to provide for their own employees. I don't think that should be part of us. I was just wondering how that's going to affect our money.
I am sure at some point it's going to be a cost to us in some way, shape, or form. I'm not sure how much of it's going to be ours and how much is going to be covered through FEMA, PEMA, or one of the other grants. But we are collecting the expenses, and we're going to hopefully find a way to cover those. But some of it's going to fall on the contractor, some of it's going to fall on us. There's no way around that.
Well, I would hope that some of it at least falls on them also. They're the ones that want to come back to work. So, I mean, I think they should be responsible for some of it.
Understand?
Because they're going to be collecting money also probably through the government for that.
I would hope.
Well, the big question arises is who's going to have to file for the FEMA and PEMA money. And if it's the contractors, then they're going to have to assign somebody to do that. Because if we're not allowed to do it, it's going to create a problem for us, and we're going to pay for it.
That's a question for Mike Arnold of Reynolds. We've already had a couple of discussions. I will be talking to them about that.
I agree.
If they're collecting the money and we're paying it, then that's really obviously wrong.
I agree. Moving on, board president's report. I had on my list to discuss the situation in prom also. Have we had any conversations on what we can do there, or do we have to wait and see if this thing's lifted that we actually can have a graduation?
Well, what we've looked at, obviously there is an outside chance that we could have an outside graduation. But we are looking at the fact that chances are we are not going to have the lifting of all the restrictions to make that possible. So we are looking at a virtual graduation in order to make sure every child gets recognized. But the question is going to be if we can do something at another time. That's the next thing we're looking at, because the issue is if you say we're going to do something June 30th, and then June 30th rolls around and you still can't get them to, you still can't congregate, and then you're going to do something in July 30th, and July 30th rolls around. Now everybody's heading towards college and everything else. We want to make sure we recognize the seniors, and that's the reason we want to put together a virtual graduation as a back burner plan, because it just makes the most sense that we need to give them a sense of completion. But there's a lot of unknowns that are impacting whether we can do a full legitimate graduation ceremony at this time.
Okay, and prom, is that, and could that happen or not?
It falls under the same situation. We haven't spent as much time focusing on prom as we have on graduation. Obviously, that's a much more important milestone. But we will be looking at that, and we will be preparing to report out on that in the May Cal.
Could I just ask a question real quick on that?
Absolutely, Rick.
Have we reached out to other school districts and gotten ideas of how they're going to handle it as well?
Yes. They've basically said the same thing that we're saying to you right now. We're all looking at it pretty much the same way. Hollidaysburg is trying to find a way to schedule some kind of event, but which means, again, they could run into this. They could be pushing it back, pushing it back, pushing it back, pushing it back. It's just the nature. When are we going to be allowed to do it?
Right.
So there's a lot of things up in the air right now. I think, depending on what happens with the curve, you know, the number of cases and the number of deaths, et cetera, regarding COVID-19, what happens with that in the next 2 weeks is going to give us a much better idea of what we're going to be able to do in June, what we're going to be able to do in July, et cetera. It's just right now, it's hunker down and see how this thing plays out.
Right.
We are planning, but
go ahead.
We are planning, but everything is hypothetical at this point. We're going to have to make a drop dead decision, which and we're leaning towards, no matter what, having some kind of virtual recognition, because some other option might not be available to us before the start of school in the fall.
Right.
So it's how do you get something to happen for the kids?
Okay, and the seniors, are they going to have everything that they need to get into college? Are they going to be hindered by this at all?
Not if I have anything to say about it. We've been moving forward with the curriculum on all our AP classes. We are working specifically at making sure they have what they need for college and will be prepared.
Okay, and military the same way. They would need their diploma.
Yes. Also, we're going to be running credit recovery. The Monday after the last day of school, we will be doing a cyber credit recovery this summer. So all of our summer school will be online. I'm not sure exactly how we're handling our huge phys ed population for summer school, but we're working on all the pieces to make that happen.
Okay. That's all I have. Superintendent's report.
Wait, sorry, can I interject before that? I just wanted to rewind to the committee chair reports and let everyone know that CBRC has obviously stopped all their programming. They're issuing refunds for the spring programming. They're proceeding with summer programming, setting it up until there's more clarification from the governor on where we're headed.
Okay, thank you. Superintendent's report.
I think everybody's pretty much on the same page with all the information that I have for you at this point. we are having strong successes, and we're having a strong attendance with our online programs. They are not perfect, but we're doing everything we possibly can to reach as many kids as we possibly can. Right now, I want to say that we have reached all but 2% of our elementary school students. Our high school's probably at 96%, 95%, where we've had contact. And the development of the pass-fail actually empowers some of our not so dedicated students to be dedicated, because it gives them a strong chance to pull their year out of the fire if they're on the bubble or the fence, so to speak. And hopefully we're all going to get through this, and it's going to work out well, or as good as it can.
We hope so. Okay.
Are we about to end?
Yes.
Okay, one more quick question. I know the governor gave us a waiver on school year ending, and I would know we extended it a little bit. What was the rationale behind that?
Get a full one. We can get a full 180 days. But through the use of Act 80 and the use of extending the school year to the 5th of June, and the faculty will do a full 167 and a half. So the contract will be completed.
Okay, and the same for the teachers?
Yes, they will fulfill their contract through June 11th, and they will be their
and that was
contract
the
also.
one I've been talking to. They were just wondering why we were extending them out.
To ensure that they get their full contract in.
Okay, even with the waiver, correct?
I feel that the waiver is a waiver, but the purpose of the waiver is so that you can do everything you need to do, and to do it to the best of your ability. Since we can complete the school year, I think the spirit of the waiver is met. We have converted in-service hours to Act 80 hours, and we've done other certain things to avoid having to push the school year out further. So it's let's just say it's a compromise. Some of them may not feel that way, but actually, this actually works out to the benefit of everyone involved, and it does guarantee that we get our 187 and a half faculty days in.
Okay, good answer.
And those last few days are going to be dedicated very strongly to moving and taking care of issues with basically shifting, 4 grades worth of students next year.
Okie doke.
Okay, sounds good. If there's nothing else, the meeting is adjourned, and thank you, everyone.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Are we not going to go over the other things, finance and?
That's information only.
Oh, okay. So can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Yes.
What is our projected deficit then for the year at this point? Do we know that yet?
We will not know a firm projected deficit probably till once we know how much we've lost in earned income tax and business privilege tax heading into the summer. Those tax returns will have to be taken care of. We do know that there's money coming in from the CARES funds from the federal government, but again, no one knows our exact number, and no one knows what we're going to be allowed to use that for at this time. So we're waiting for more guidance from the federal government and the state.
In the finance meeting, we said that for the budget, it's going to be about a $9.6 million deficit, and then approximately $3 million reimbursed from the government. Is those close numbers?
That was the worst. That's a worst case scenario, but that's where it is.
Yeah, I just want to make sure everybody's aware of it.
Anything else on the dreaded let's freeze property tax that was causing everybody to go crazy over the weekend?
I have not. I believe that's in the legislature at this point. I have discussed it with Lou Schmidt. With what our situation is. I don't have an answer yet. I have not gotten anything back from PASA or any other professional organizations past the fact that it is being discussed in the House.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, anything else?